Welcome to episode 3 of Gaslit, The Power of Story. I'm your host, Tommy Housman. Today, I'm sitting down with two small business owners in downtown Evansville, Adam Morris from Your Brother's Bookstore and Carl Arnheiter from Arcademie. These are places that were built on purpose. They're not just selling books and drinks, they're holding weddings, starting friendships, recycling glass, hosting local music, and giving people somewhere to be. And both of them are saying the same thing. It's getting unsustainable to survive here. In this conversation, we get into what that actually looks like at ground level. In payroll, in hours cut, in a Tuesday night you can't afford to open, in a bookstore owner who hasn't taken a paycheck, in a bar owner who realizes a Saturday night just pays the electric bill. Adam and Carl, they're not really policy guys. They're not lobbyists and they're not politicians. They're people who choose to invest in Evansville and are now asking out loud why the system around them are making it harder for them to stay here. This is what it sounds like when a community hits the point of we can't just quietly eat this anymore. So let's get into our conversation. Well, I thank you guys for joining me on Gaslit, The Power of Story. I appreciate you both being here today. So we're just going to jump right in if you don't mind. You both open places that are kind of really about people. Yeah. So connection, community, culture. What made you want to build that here? And what do you love most about being part of Evansville?
Oh, you can take that.
I originally am from Evansville and left and came back. When I came back, I kind of realized that there were some things missing, and I felt like an indie bookstore could bring together everything that I wanted to do in one place. So we've got our music culture, we've got our book culture, we've got our art culture. I felt like Evansville really needed some culture in some aspects, and I felt like I could do that. And Main Street seemed to be the best option for us. And kind of on a whim, I brought it up with my brother, and then, a year and a half later, we opened Your Brother's Bookstore.
What about you, Carl?
Yeah, Arcademie. I'm not from here. I was tased and thrown in the back of a van and woke up here one October morning. But Arcademie, there's a huge sense of community there in two ways. One, it's been great to be on the other side of the bar and see friendships develop, relationships start, relationships fall apart. We're there for people's rehearsal dinners and celebrations, birthdays and all these sorts of things. So it's great. And then people can offhandedly say like, I'm looking for somebody who does X thing. And I go, oh, I know somebody that does that. And I can connect people, and jobs have started, and careers have started, and businesses have started. I met Adam.
You married us.
I married Adam and his wife, Katie, at the bar one night. I introduced them earlier in a haphazard night. That's a really good example of it.
Yeah.
But then community beyond that goes, we started glass recycling because that was kind of missing. We focused on that. We compost everything that comes in and out of the bar, so we kind of push that a bit on the greener side. We built places. It really is a place for connections and people coming around. So, not to transition into, so community based. So I do keep community in mind when we kind of take a stand with things.
And it just seems to be, both from hearing both of your stories, that you're also leading by example. What needs to be done, and then going and doing it, jumping in.
Yeah, that's definitely a good.
That wasn't why I started doing it.
Yeah, I'd say I do it more because I have to.
Yeah, that's absolutely where it's at this point, especially with what we're talking about. I had no choice but to do it.
So both of you have spoken out publicly about rising costs, not from a place of politics, but from frustration and exhaustion. So what made you decide that this wasn't just something to quietly accept anymore?
It's an unsustainable I don't, future is not the right word, but it's an unsustainable expense moving forward.
Yeah.
Just completely, the point we take at the bar, and I guess by we, it's me, but I think Centerpoint, who we're talking about, is they're doing significant damage to Southwest Indiana. But, and I'm not letting them off the hook here, they're doing what they've been allowed to do. And the problem is really, until we change things in Indianapolis and change things at the state level, Centerpoint's just going to do what they can do. And so that, for a long time, I didn't say anything about that because I was like, how is this going to impact me? I don't see Centerpoint. It is a political issue when you look at what's happening on the state level, but it's not a political issue on, well, I'm oversimplifying it, but it's not a political issue when you look at it on a person-to-person level or business-to-business or residential-resident. It doesn't matter what your political beliefs are. You are caught up in that rising cost. So I was like, this is kind of an apolitical stance to take, even though I certainly obviously have a political ideology of my own. But I don't let that factor into it. It's purely a bottom line issue of I can't spend $1,900 a month on this. And I've met people whose businesses spend $33,000 a month on it.
Yeah.
$40,000 a month on it. It's simply a scale issue.
Yeah.
So I just simply couldn't be quiet anymore.
Being a hub for conversation is something that the bookstore really does try to do. And a lot of business owners, especially on Main Street, but in general, like to pop in through the store. And there was like a solid week that's all we were talking about whenever we got our first bill. And it was just one of those things where we all collectively were saying, what are we going to do? Like this is impossible. Like things are already a little tight. Now things are exceptionally tight. And it's because of one thing that, again, has been allowed to happen.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are, like one of the focuses that we're doing is we've been putting, this week a letter is going out to all the small businesses that we can possibly imagine. And I've been working alongside Alex Burton to get this letter together because while I can read, I can't write that well.
You should come.
And we are asking for two things, which is to sign this petition and then a copy of your bill. Redact all of the information that shouldn't be there. And then we're going to get as many of these things together. And then alongside Alex Burton, we'll present it in Indy. It's gotten to that point where it's time for us all to kind of come together. And I'm pretty outspoken about everything. And this one I've been not as outspoken about, not because it's not something that I don't feel passionately about, but because I just don't know what to say. And I just don't know like what to do. But there's a lot of anger coming from a lot of people, which is completely justified.
I was the same way. I knew I was mad.
Yeah.
It's affected me too. And, but that's why I'm doing this, I think.
Yeah.
So if we share how all these stories are affecting everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely like a point of conversation when you're sitting at the bar. I mean, you hear in the background Centerpoint.
Well, we've been hearing it honestly for years. I've always found the utility bills here high. I live in the historic district, and I'm like, this is unsustainable for residents as just a guy living in town. As business owners, we also get it twofold. I mean, we're impacted by it ourselves, but our customers are impacted by it. I think at the moment we're kind of in this. Despite I'm not an economist, but stocks and things are at a record high, but I was like, consumer spending is a near record low. Everybody's just dragging. People are coming in going like, oh, I'm so sorry, I haven't seen you in a while. My utility bill is higher than my mortgage or my rent. And I hear that. So there's this huge gap between consumer spending and rising costs. And it's this like alligator snap of a bite on a graph. So people have been saying it for years, but it simply became just unsustainable. It was like in the air. It's not like we're taking a controversial stance. people, even when they have lower utility bills, are like, God, I shouldn't be paying $161 a month. This is crazy. I used to pay 70. I mean, they're not helping it by moving to cheaper options for energy, but it's brutal.
So you guys are kind of dancing around this, but so can you paint a picture of what it actually looks like for a small business right now? What kinds of hard choices do you find yourself making month to month just to stay open?
Yeah. For me, it's almost counterproductive. I mean, I did the math on what it costs per day to be open, which I'd never done before.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, forget Tuesday nights.
Yep.
There's just no point between staffing and the cost of energy. Now,
Wow.
the more that I cut, the more demand is on the days we're open. So we're now open 4 days a week instead of 3, but my utility costs are roughly the same daily because refrigeration and things like that. So I jumped from about $35 a day if I was open, just to cover it, to $75 a day. So that's one way that's impacted. And because busy nights are down and people are going out less, I don't, it takes a whole Saturday night will take care of a whole Saturday night. It's like, well, that'll pay Centerpoint this month, the busiest night of the week. It's just like, it is brutal.
We've been doing a lot of offsite stuff to kind of counterbalance, where we're going to different places, setting up a table and, hustling books. But one of the things that I do personally is I cover in the store as much as I can. And as an owner, my payroll is zero. I haven't taken a paycheck since we've opened the store.
Nope.
And that's just a reality of things. With that said, I have a wonderful staff. They all have taken on extra responsibilities and extra hours. When I'm in the store, it's hard for me to get to focus and be able to dive into QuickBooks and start doing stuff. So I'm working a lot more outside of the store and in the store. But we've done all the, silly necessities of replacing all of our light bulbs with LEDs, and we have a Nest, and we have everything on, our thermostat is on a schedule because costs are so high. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Days that I can have the doors open, I'm opening the doors so that I don't have to turn on air and stuff. In our store, we're a bookstore. We have lights, and that's pretty much it. We throw a concert in there once a week. So, we're using energy. But Carl has video games, and there's a lot more stuff. You look at these kitchens, and, in the middle of the heat, they've got an oven going. Of course, it's going to be hot back there. They're going to have air conditioning cranked. And that seems to be where it is. But if our bill is high, going through all the steps that we can to bring down costs, I can only imagine what other people's bills are.
Yeah, it's brutal. But I mean, you said that there are 2 or maybe 3 glorious weeks a year where the temperature is perfect, where I don't have to turn on the air or the heat. And I think we're probably in heat season now, but the last week was like, oh, great, I don't have to turn that on. At least there's that.
I've also noticed with all of my friends in general, nobody's turning on their heat.
No.
And everybody's actively talking about, I'm sleeping with 4 sweaters. People are this is the reality that we have brought on ourselves.
Yeah, we don't turn anything on during the day.
No, it's all off. Yeah. But yeah, to your point, I mean, all the numbers are off this year. Literally everybody is just, I have not met a single business owner that's not, in general, regardless of cost, in survival mode.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just how do we get through this?
Yeah.
And hoping there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
So you talked about this a little bit. You mentioned a couple of times, actually. So you talk to people every day across the bar, across the counter. What are you hearing from customers, friends, neighbors about how these costs are affecting them? I mean, even groceries, even everything's going up, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's just part of it. And luckily, there's a group of readers out there who understand books are a necessity. You have to have entertainment. You have to do things. You can't just sit at home and sit in front of the TV or whatever. But we have actively done things to bring our price of books down. Now, with that said, one of the things that I've noticed, especially over the last couple of months, is, let's use The House of Leaves, for example. The book was $16 in January. Then it went up to $18. Now it's at like $26. Like gradually the price of things in general has been going up. So compound all of that with energy and everything else. People have to pick and choose. And that's one of the things that we're hearing the most is that people have to pick and choose what they're going to spend money on. And so, maybe it's books, maybe it's going to the bar for the night, or maybe it's literally buying the bag of Ruffles at the supermarket instead of the knockoff brand and things like that.
Ruffles isn't the knockoff brand?
Well,
Just checking.
I don't know. I'm more of a Lay's man.
Yeah, I'm a Lay's guy myself.
But there's a lot. It's a constant conversation. Like you definitely hear it constantly of what are we going to do?
Yeah, I say this a lot. Our competition isn't another bar or another restaurant. It's leaving your home. We have to convince you that it's worth it to leave your home. So there's nothing any bar or restaurant can do that you couldn't do at home if you tried. You can make a whiskey sour at home. You don't need me to do it. I'm just set up to make it efficiently, quickly, and I make a really good one. But that is my thing. So when people are and I myself want to do this, when times get tough, it's like, well, why leave the house? So it's really hard to get people to leave right now. We're going to change our business model slightly to try to encourage that, but it's really hard.
That's one thing that also I've noticed a lot of business owners are doing is we're all trying weird stuff.
Yeah.
We're doing everything we can to adjust stuff around and just kind of do whatever we can so that we can hit our bottom line.
Just to get bodies in the door.
Yeah. Like we have to, like in order for us to stay open, like we have to see people, and we've got a number of things going against us. But one of the big things going against us is how much everything costs.
Yeah.
And we can't control like the price of books and stuff like that.
Nope.
And you can make a whiskey sour at home, but you can't like write your own book at home. I guess you can. But,
you can.
But it's
gonna be really boring.
You're gonna know what happened.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be like
the
ending is gonna be spoiled for you.
Yeah.
So in earlier episodes, we heard from policy experts who said this didn't happen by accident, and that there are laws written that there are laws written to protect profits and limit competition.
Right.
And when you hear that, does that line up with what you've experienced as business owners trying to make things work here? Like it seems like there's all these rules and regulations in place for the monopolies, but not for us.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it is a monopoly. Yeah, I wish I had some of those things where, on some level, we operate by the same things because they're guaranteed to do it, but obviously my costs, I have to get them back, but nobody's guaranteeing me the cost of my inventory. Like, oh, well, Carl, if you don't sell it, we got you covered. So I have to mark that in, but we pay their cost. So does everybody that walks into our outlets. They pay our cost, but that it's weird. It's just so
One of the things I've been thinking about it lately is that if you don't sell enough drinks or food, there is not a not-for-profit organizations that are dedicated to making sure that you get enough money to survive the month.
Yeah. That's certainly true.
I've never seen any of those.
I think the number, and I don't want to misquote myself, but it was really high about how much money from non-for-profits that were, and that's us donating to nonprofits, and then those nonprofits we're taking care of each other.
Yeah,
through this whole episode.
I think all of us entered the West Side raffle so that we could stay open next month.
Yeah,
yeah. Like it's just where we've hit.
Yeah, it's really tough. I'm going to be very honest with this. I'm very new to this fight. I'm those policy guys, and I meet with them a lot, and I talk with them, and I'm working on some things with them, and it's very impressive what they do, on a day-to-day and the ins and outs that they know. So I don't have that knowledge. I don't have that experience. But the more I hear about it, I kind of feel like we're in this deep pit. I'm like, how do we get out of this? Like, it's so rigged against everybody.
It's just crazy. Like, how did this happen?
Yeah. And they know. Like, one thing I was asked to do is write a letter, like you were, on behalf of business owners, to say this is how it's impacting us. But I have to believe that they know. You know, my state reps know, the congressmen know, they all know.
Well, publicly they say it's hyperbole.
Right.
Right.
Yes, sure.
But privately, they're cashing a check.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And it's very low. When I look at, I forget his name, but he was paid like $1,200 and was given seats. And I was like, I'll write you a check for $1,200 and I'll give you a free meal at the bar. Come on down. If that's going to change your opinion on, there has to be more to it.
Yeah.
But if that's going to change your opinion on taxes, come on down, have a beer with me, and I'll tell you how much a $1,900 bill impacts me on a daily basis. I don't know who I work for anymore. Just like you, I haven't taken a paycheck yet. But I don't know who I work for, because I can literally take my monthly income and go, this much goes to insurance, and this much pays my mortgage, and this much is payroll, and this much is inventory, and this huge chunk is Centerpoint. At the end of the day, there are some months where I'm like, all right, I'm writing the check this month just because I have to.
Adam, you talked about wanting transparency about how public money is used and how local decisions get made. So why does transparency matter so much to you as a business owner trying to keep faith in the system?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
And
that's
whenever I'm like trying to do my bills and I'm like, playing beat the bank, can I make enough money this weekend to cover the check that I wrote on Friday that's going to be cashed on Monday, sort of thing. Like, I just want to know, like, what's happening, like, where, like, and I feel like that's a really simple question.
It is. I don't think that's too much to ask.
And like the fact that, like, like, I'll ask for a meeting with, somebody in the city, and they'll be like, yeah, I see them on the street, and they're like, call my office, like, we'll do this. And I call their office, and they're like, they can meet with you in a month and a half from now at 9 a.m. for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I just saw him on the street for 15 minutes.
Right.
So, like, it's frustrating. I just don't understand why, like, basic questions, why can't I get a basic question answered? Yeah. And I don't know, communication is so important and doesn't happen enough in so many regards of life. But whenever, as a business owner, like, I'm responsible for a couple of people's financial lives here.
Right.
Like, in order for me to make a decision, should we start selling this? Do I have enough money to bring in the stock to start selling, vinyl records or whatever? Or do I need to, like, really be conscious of how much we're spending because of payroll and because of my Centerpoint bill?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's wild.
Yeah.
I am also in meetings occasionally with business groups, but they don't really represent my size of business. Small businesses are the like 90% of business or whatever that stat is. But here locally, I'm in these, and it'll be people from much bigger businesses, Toyota, what used to be Berry Plastics, even Centerpoint will be in there because they're those business leaders.
Yeah.
But those people that I'm meeting with don't go back and be like, I wonder if there's money for that. Again, it's scale. They're operating on different deals, so maybe they are tight, but they're certainly not going like, hey, how's Toyota keeping the doors open tomorrow?
Right.
These people I'm dealing with. And so there's a disconnect for me on that level where I'd love to meet people who are like, I hear you.
When you talk about that, I start thinking about, I've lived in Evansville my whole life. I'm from here. I've lived here. I went to school here. And I just stayed. And you guys know where Jimtown is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Jimtown used to have a bar and a small business on every corner. And you drive through Jimtown now, and they're all gone. And you have to, so this is something, we're talking about the problems that we're in right now and how we got here. But all those businesses, those are the casualties along the way to where we are today.
And I dare say that's probably from the Lloyd. When I look at that, I mean, you can still see areas that are dying from that extension. They cut Evansville up, broke it up.
Nobody wants to go from the east side to the west side.
Yeah. And it's a semi-permeable border. So like when you pass a place like the pub, it's like, well, that was probably thriving at one point, but now it's a painting shop or a realtor. It's like, that's not, you're losing that network, that neighborhood connection.
And even Main Street is peppered with there's always empty spots, and there's empty spots on Main Street that have been there for 26 years, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The spot next to us, like nobody knows when, like we've even talked to like our landlord about it, like who rented this out last.
Yeah.
And it's like Winnicky rented it out for his campaign, 12 years ago.
Mm.
And then it's, other than that, it's completely set empty. And I've encouraged people to reach out to like our landlord and say, this has been empty for 26 years. Like there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. And he won't rent it to him because he won't rent it at an undervalued thing. We've got a bunch of dinosaurs buying up a bunch of properties and then just sitting on it.
Yeah.
And that's happening across Evansville, period. But like that makes business really hard for us and for everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to talk about business too much since we're focusing on this, but it's called gaslit, so maybe I should.
Yeah. I take it as, my take is not being from here.
Yeah, but we have no representation in Evansville.
Yeah,
we got no Chamber of Commerce. We got a pay to play, group, and it's another one of those things where you're going to keep asking yourself, how did we get here? Especially over the next couple of years.
Out of it.
Yeah. Like every spot, like if you want every spot on Main Street to be a bar, that's what you're going to get.
No, it shouldn't be.
But like we heard one of the business owners was telling me that people are renting on Main Street for $31 a square foot. And I just don't see how that's.
I don't know who that is.
Who is paying? Like I know most of the business owners on Main Street. Like who is paying $31 a square foot? Like we talk about how much rent is.
Yeah.
Like it's open. We talk about how much we're spending.
It just seems like nothing matches our reality.
I know,
No.
and so I guess that if you'd rather have empty buildings, that's fine, but not really.
Yeah. I go. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even think of this earlier, but. Here's the real world situation for us. We put our building up for sale in March. It's the asking price is what we put into it. It's not. I'm not walking away with a fortune. We bought it for $93,000. It had been abandoned for 20 years.
Yeah.
Nobody's come. Two people came to look at it in all that time. We put it up for sale because we were going to move into a larger space, and the business model would have changed, but basically we would have reopened somewhere else. A major consideration, it's kind of on hold at the moment. In fact, we're kind of pushing to sell that other place. It might be the easier sell. Because Centerpoint, I was just like, if I don't put solar or stick a wind turbine up here, this is unsustainable. So that's a real world situation for me of like, I'm in this deal, but even if I put that other place up for sale, it's no guarantee that anybody will even come look at it.
Right.
It's wild. Yeah. I mean, I'll end it there, but I think it's interesting. Evansville to me is this. It's a city, but to me, it's a suburb without a city. It just sprawls, and you've decentralized it.
Yeah.
And now you can go anywhere. The downtown's been hollowed out, and it's parking lots. And as much as I love it, and everybody who's down there jumped in because they wanted to see it come back.
Yeah.
I do think. Until we figure out our sprawl, I drive through parts of town. I'm like, how does this business stay in? But how does this business, are people buying enough bundt cakes for nothing bundt cake to stay in business? I don't know. And I'm not mocking them. I'm
better not be.
The bundt cake, I've not been. Maybe I should, and my life will change.
I've never had a bundt cake that I was like, this is a bad bundt cake.
No, I agree with you, but I'm also just like, what we need tonight, guys? It's bundt cake Tuesday, and they're like, all right, let's do it. So I don't know how anybody is staying.
I agree. I when I drive through town and I see all the new houses being built, I'm like, who's buying these houses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with that house that's got the for sale sign right?
And if you were planning, there would be in those developments, there would be that neighborhood bar, that corner grocery store, or any of those things that used to be there. It's not like neighborhoods have been redefined. I mean, this is a 100-year-old pattern where they build these things, and you're more and more decentralized and further away from your resources.
Yeah, we all studied it in sociology.
Yeah, it's
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up next to Levittown, Long Island, which was the first pre-built neighborhood in the country, and it's even that is just this sprawling nightmare with a giant Lloyd expressway through the middle of it. That's called the Turnpike.
So Carl, when you ask people to bring their bills And I saw this on Facebook too, where you had over 250 comments.
Yeah.
With people's bills, and I looked through them, and those numbers were insane. So I mean, what did it tell you about how people are living through? I mean, you had all these people sharing this intimate part of their life with you, and it's kind of, it's hard to tell people you're struggling, and you had like 250 people, and that was just on. That was online.
Yeah, that was there, and then people came in with it, and I wrote down every one of those and stuck them on an index card.
What was
charted it up? The biggest was like $1,679 for a house, and I would write whatever details they had. I just took them down. If people said 3-bedroom or last year at this time, the kilowatt hours don't change. But basically, we're all using the same amount of money, the same amount of kilowatts. You can go back over years and be like, it's pretty much the same. You can upgrade your appliances or your things, and maybe it gets a bit more efficient, or you can put on solar. But basically, it is purely a rate hike thing. And if you talk to someone like Christopher Norick, who really gets in depth on and can geek out on those bills, you can just see it's all you're getting charged. But to your point, we'd had enough, and I was like, we're going to black out, and we're going to make this a community event. We're turning off our lights, and I'll get to that again in a minute. But we turned off the lights. Will it make any impact on our bottom line? No. But it was simply to raise awareness, like we're all getting kind of screwed here. We asked people, we invited speakers in, and I asked people to send in or come with their bills, and we'll chart it up. And it is an incredible chart. The lowest one was somebody that was grandfathered in for solar, and she paid like $92 a month. The highest one was $679, I think. Most of the people were in the $600 to $800 range. That was just almost 2-story high graph of numbers, and it was great to see. And even after the event, when people could see it again, we did have a flashlight on it, and people would come and look at it. And some people from out of town were like, "Oh, what's this?" We're like, "Oh, here's the background on it." And they're like, "Oh my God, you guys paid that much a month?" They're like, "We thought we were high."
Yeah.
So it's sparking endless conversation, and we're about to do it again because this will be old news by the time it got, but I'd heard back channels that the CEO of Centerpoint's in town this Wednesday to address the employees, and I was like, oh. And so today this letter will go out asking everybody downtown to turn their lights out on Wednesday night to drive that point home of like, we're not taking it anymore. And again, Centerpoint's just doing what Centerpoint's doing. But it's the bigger notice to Indy when it's like our entire downtown is turning off our lights, and this giant dark middle finger to this whole thing because it's unsustainable. I mean, we're getting to the point where I'm getting off, but that blackout, many other people started doing things. Penny Lane Coffee House has been going off on Centerpoint bills forever, like bring in your bills. Other restaurants are saying we don't even want Centerpoint employees here. I think that's a bit extreme because it's not the employee, it's just a job. And when you talk to those people, and they get a lot of guff on the street, when I talk to them and I have an issue with it, they're just people like you and me. This is their job. But when you talk to them, they're like, I live in Henderson. I don't want to pay this stuff. Like they live out of the rates. So the community aspect and people coming in, it was on one level cathartic because they could say, oh, I'm not alone in paying $800 a month for my utility bill. And also like we're all in this together. And people in that room, Republican, Democrat, Independents, it didn't matter. They were all like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And so it was really incredible. And very simple.
Yeah.
And it'll happen again in 48 hours.
That's awesome.
We just can't do it.
I didn't know that you were doing it again.
Nobody does because we just found out on Saturday night.
Exclusive.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah, I know.
First to know.
Yeah, if it's your headliner. Blackout again.
That's awesome.
Well, we will be participating in it.
Well, I'll get you that email today.
One of the things, so as a class system comes, one of the few things that we as a community, regardless of where you stand politically, have is labor. Like that's the only thing we can withhold is labor and hit people in their wallets. Mm-hmm. So if we all do a blackout at a certain time, I mean, imagine if like the entire nation did a blackout, and that's huge thinking. So let's bring it back to the community. Imagine if everybody downtown did the blackout.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see the numbers.
Right. So yeah, another monopoly story recently, Disney, when everybody decided not to cancel their subscriptions,
yeah,
they immediately paid attention.
Yep.
And I think that there's merit in this idea that if we withhold money somehow, however we can, even if it hurts us a little bit,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that is a good method of protesting.
Yeah, I was in the middle of rewatching Mighty Boosh with my son, and then we had to cancel Disney. So it really did impact it. But I so appreciate what that does. I just hope it changes the thinking behind the scenes. Like, all right, Kimmel's back on the air, and we're saying we're not going to take this anymore. But the people that are running Paramount are still going like, well, maybe,
Yeah.
I get it. They were licking their wounds that day, and they will be for a while because I don't think a lot of people are coming back. But it's like, how do you change that mindset long term?
Yeah, I think some of these places think that they're so powerful.
Yeah,
we're just going to take it.
Like, what are you going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need power.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, at home we put solar on, and even then I get we're not grandfathered in. We generate more than we produce, but I still pay $300 a month.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, and to get a battery costs another $10,000, so I'm deeper in the hole. But I started thinking, like, I looked into this the other day, and I don't even know if it's legal, but I was like, am I a utility company? I generate my own power. I have my own network here. Why can't I be treated like a utility? And sure, I pay it into that. I send mine into that grid, but maybe CenterPoint should pay me because it's coming into my grid. I started looking at the laws, like what defines a utility. If I put a bigger setup in my backyard, and I was like, no, I generate. Now they have to permit it. The CenterPoint has to approve your solar array to make sure that you don't generate too much. But I'm like, oh, is this just a monopoly going like, oh, we don't want this little indie utility company starting up downtown.
Yeah.
This other project I mentioned earlier, the building is 34,000 square feet. It's got, I don't know, can't even tell you, like 18,000 square feet of roof. One, to re-roof it's going to be a nightmare. But two, I was like, it's a lot of solar panels I can put up there. I can generate a ton of power. And fun things. I was like, does that make me a utility company? So I really have been like, maybe there's a lawyer that wants to take this up with me and push back.
Maybe they'll hear and something will click.
It's such a stupid, but I mean, you said like it's David and Goliath story. It's just like, all right, I'm going to start my own solar farm. Yeah. I'm going to invest, and then let's fight it.
So there's a real sense of community between local businesses downtown. When you two are a really good example of that. So are you starting to see people band together more since you've started to do things like this, or does it feel like everyone's just trying to hold on alone?
Both, but I mean, they're community issues. When we band together on stuff, we're all affected by it.
Yeah.
Every one of us is affected by the utility costs. Adam and I are affected by the construction that happens behind us and closes our street down. It's easy to come together. It doesn't just affect me, it affects everybody after 4th Street.
Yeah.
So there's some business owners I don't talk to, and not for any malice. I don't happen to engage with them. I don't know them, but those I do, we're in this, and even though I don't talk to them, we're all in the same boat together. And maybe they don't find it an issue. One thing I do struggle with very honestly is like, what's my problem and what's outside my door? And is it really impacting me? Like, it's hard to quantify how much construction impacts me behind. I don't know. Is the person who uses my dumpster bay as a bathroom, is that impacting my business? I can't tell. Things like my utility bill, well, I can absolutely see that that's impacting me.
Yeah.
So, sometimes when I'm loud about things, like, am I just doing this because I'm annoyed, or is it really impacting me? Or is it impacting people getting to me? That's the lens I put on it. So yeah, there is a sense of community downtown when we're all doing that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, have you seen less people coming through your door because of this construction? Because the road's been closed for 8
we all
months?
talk. Like,
we all talk.
I mean, that's the reality, is that
nobody's happy.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, great day.
We're all having the same conversations too, but it is, downtown is a different animal. Like it is, you have to work together to get upstream, but everything's upstream. And especially like the construction, I mean, we not everybody speaks up, but we speak the loudest, I feel like, and there's times where people might even say that we're coming off as like that we're just bitching about, so can I say bitching?
Yeah.
And like that we're just
You should say that
complaining
third
and
time.
belly aching about stuff. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess that we are, but like come try to park down here.
Right.
Come try to visit me. Come down here whenever Signature School is getting out and try to come into my store. Like it is impossible, and it's not going to get any better.
Right.
And there's going to be more people downtown and fewer parking spots. But what you are seeing is them building new parking lots and things and everywhere, but you have to pay to park in them.
Yeah.
So it's just the 4 people right now that are downtown and buying up all of the properties, which is the reality of what's happening downtown. Those 4 people are going to make a lot of money, and everybody else is going to struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard one, but that's why I say I'm vocal about some things because they are impacting me, but I'm like, I worry that the perception is just crying about this. I mean, I don't talk about everything that's annoying me, but there's some things infrastructure wise. When it comes to infrastructure, you have to raise it, and on some level, like we got in earlier than other people, and so the progress of downtown can certainly impact people who are already there and established. And everybody's like, well, it's going to be great when those 151 apartments open behind you. I'm like, it might be.
Yeah.
But I have to get there.
Right.
That's
But I've also heard that
26.
it's going to be great when this opens.
Yeah. And
then that opens, and you're like,
everybody was excited. A lot of buildings got bought up when the medical school opened because they're like, this is it, gangbusters.
Yep.
There are 3,000 students. But I was like, they're all medical students. The only thing they do is study.
Yeah.
Go
and drink coffee.
You'd never know.
Yeah.
You'd never know that there are 3,000 people. They're not down there hanging out in coffee shops or in the bar after a long day. They're not.
This generation of students, coming from my perspective, they're very introverted. They don't go out as much.
Just grandkids.
Yes, they are.
Kids, yeah.
They stay in their rooms. There's some local events on campus here that they'll get involved with, but that's about as far as they go. I have students that don't want to go to Walmart, that don't want to drive their car. Their car hasn't moved the entire time they've been here. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. It is strange. I almost failed out of college because I was doing so much.
Yeah.
I wasn't college based. But it's hard. I mean, there's so many factors at play.
Yeah. So, we've been talking a lot, and this is another subject that we've been kind of dancing around the whole time, is that we talked about Henderson and how much cheaper it is to live there. And we see that people are not coming here anymore, right? That is, and it's even to the point now where people are leaving. So we're no longer, as a city, we're no longer retaining people. We're no longer having a higher enrollment to talk about in college terms. And people are leaving.
Yeah.
So I'm from here. I of course I know this town has problems, but I love it because this is where I've been my whole life. So why do we stay? Why are we going to fight?
Great question.
Yeah, it's a big one.
I left and came back. So, and I came back for a plethora of reasons, but I really I don't hate Evansville, but there's a lot here that needs to be adjusted and changed. And a lot of it is the mindsets of things. Like, I don't know why we're still here. I guess we're still here because I have the store and, have a house, have a wife. We've got a great life, 2 dogs, it's comfortable. And that's probably the main thing that's keeping me in Evansville is that it's comfortable here. And maybe I've settled a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep chugging along as long as we possibly can. And we know that won't be forever.
Right.
And if we can make it another year, I will be very surprised. We have, unless people start turning out.
Yeah.
But it can't be like, if I put something out and I'm like, hey, sales are down this month, the next weekend we're flooded. But that's a different kind of shopper than your regular, somebody comes in to buy stuff. That I don't know. And the reality is I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I see that a lot now. A lot of businesses are posting like, it's this weekend or nothing.
Yeah.
You got to come out, buy this pizza. If we don't do it, we're out.
Yeah.
And I get that. I'll never post that. but I have those feelings too. Like, oh my God, if we have another week like this is horrible.
Yeah, I look at our bank account and I'm just like,
Yeah. But I'm not from here, but I'm from New York City. I say this a lot. I mean, I couldn't have bought a building in New York and opened this bar, even though this was an idea I had then. Um, and I certainly have, as much as I love New York, I have problems with New York. But I do worry about that here. I live in a historic house downtown. Every Halloween, when people are out trick or treating, they're like, "My God, how much does it cost to heat this place?" It's a concern. I mean, we put in I've done a significant deal, so that won't be an issue if we ever sold. I worry about Indiana on multiple levels. You keep reading, the median house income. This is like one of the best places to buy a house in the country. I'm like, that's great. What are the jobs? What else is there? We're missing that. The recent stuff in the state where they messed with the property taxes and they kind of sacrificed education for that. I'm like, why would anyone with a family with kids in school move to Indiana right now? I have 2 kids here. I want to get out because I'm so worried about the future state of education. And when you talk to the teachers, and I do, they're all worried about that too. There are ideological shifts that I don't really want to be on the receiving end of. I just don't feel like people have it all. So there's so many things where I worry, like, oh, actually, we're just going to get trapped here.
mm-hmm.
I'll have a building that won't be a business that forget the business. I'll have the real estate asset of it that I won't be able to unload. I'll have a house I won't be able to unload, because why would you ever move here if you cared about your kids' education? So that's how I think. And some days I like to forget it just so I can get through the day. And then some days I'm like deeply worried about this. Like, oh my God, there's no way out. I can't believe I willingly jumped into this. Growing up, as I'm sure you did, I knew you grew up, but I mean, as I'm sure you experienced, quicksand was everywhere in everything I read. And I was like, I don't think it's literal quicksand. I actually think it's figurative quicksand. Like that pit of quicksand is actually, I've moved somewhere and invested and settled in a place where I can't get out of.
Yeah.
It's you can never change where you're from, but you can change where you live. And it is a choice to be here, and it was a choice to invest in Evansville, and I believed in it, like downtown, like
Me too.
Everybody did. And you came back into that. So there's a lot that I see Evansville as full of possibility, but I also don't know that everybody cares about them. One of the things I struggle with here, and I started a little thing you'll be hearing more about, I hope, but again, not an Evansville specific problem, but it is a problem for me because I'm here operating in Evansville. Everybody here loves a chain restaurant. I can have 8 people in the shop, but Texas Roadhouse could be filled, or any other chain could be packed on any day of the week. And it's like, how do you change the mindset? There's so many great things. There's so many great independent things happening in Evansville. How do I get people to know about them and experience them and take advantage of it? Because when we'll be the first to go, then you're already seeing indie shops closing and going. So all those indie shops are going to go, and you're just going to be left with Texas. And you're like, God, I wish Evansville's just so not interesting. The fabric is all this. Yeah. And then, in New York, the joke is like, oh, here comes another Duane Reade or a Starbucks, something would go out and that would replace it. And that's happening because of the economics. But I worry about that here. Like, we're just going to, if you're complaining about Evansville being boring now, when everybody's pushing towards it to make it interesting, like, you're going to be really unhappy with it.
And I think this part of the story that we're telling is the most impactful for whoever is in charge of anything listening. That the sustainability of this attitude is going to destroy us.
Yes.
I mean, we are shooting ourselves in the foot by not changing these things. So if these people were to come into your bookstore, they're coming to your bar, and they were to sit down, and you're sitting across from them, and they're willing to listen to you, and you want to get them to finally understand, what would you tell them
about? What would I tell them about Evansville? Or
I mean, how would you try to convince them that this is an issue that they need to address, that they need to pay attention? How do you get them to change their minds?
And
by sharing your story, by telling everybody else's story that it comes through your door. I mean, you got an opportunity to talk to them and maybe change their mind.
I wish I knew the answer to that, and that is the struggle. I don't know. I mean, it's a bigger deal. How do you convince people not to shop on Amazon and do that? You're fighting convenience. The East Side is thriving at the moment because it's a mix of retail and hospitality places. You're like, oh, well, I picked this up here at Target, and now I'm going to go grab lunch here at wherever. Until those neighborhoods are put back together where you can offer things where they don't have to travel. Right? I used the wrong word the other day when I was talking to the city about. I was like, people are incentivized to go to the east side. They're not incentivized to go to the east side. They're simply that's where everything is.
Yeah.
And that's currently where everybody's focus is right now. Downtown is a destination. So I don't know how to convince people to do it. To me, it's on one hand very easy. It's like, well, this is better than what you're going to get there, and you're supporting companies like, Chi-Chi's isn't supporting historic haunted Evansville's, walk. That's Arcademie, and Chi-Chi's not, donating to Haney's Corner for their events. That's Arcademie. And I'll post about it, and people can be like, yeah, that's so nice. But it literally doesn't change. People aren't coming in because of that.
Yeah.
But I don't see Chi-Chi's doing it. So you can make an economic point, like you keep your money in Evansville and support local. But I just think it's just going to be a wasteland. And people talk like, oh, you should have seen downtown 20 years ago. I'm like, good God.
That's actually exactly the mindset to have, though. Is you're investing in the things that are important to you and your community, and you're giving back. That's exactly the idea that we all should be having.
Yeah.
And we should be rewarding that.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe that's it.
We talk a lot about community, but one of the complaints that I've heard about specifically, like the bookstore, is that we only support our community. And I'm like, but I mean, yes and no, but like we also are, going to Owensboro and doing the pop-up. A big problem in Evansville is the corporate mindset. And people, once you start to educate them and you start talking, when you spend $1 at Barnes & Noble, 20 cents of that is going to go back into the community. When you spend $1 at your brother's bookstore, 80 cents goes back in the community. That's just a reality of shopping small. And there should be more encouragement and people, but at the end of the day, they look at a price tag and they say, I can get it cheaper at Amazon.
Right.
I can get it cheaper at the big corporate store. And it's like, well, yes, of course you can. Like we sell it at retail price. They sell it at not retail price because they know that you're also going to pick up laundry detergent while you're there or whatever.
Yeah.
Laundry detergent at Barnes & Noble is really good.
I mean, we could have a whole nother show about Walmart and Amazon, can't we?
Yeah.
We're going to start selling laundry detergent.
Yeah.
Just to make it easier for people.
We buy it from Mary Allen and
Yeah.
market.
But I'm going to mark it up 20% over Mary's price. Yeah.
But shopping small and being is incredibly important. And we're entering this holiday season. And I don't know when this podcast is coming out, so if this comes out after the holiday season, it'll sound really stupid.
Oh no,
Happy New Year.
It'll be out this week.
But in all seriousness, like do what you can this holiday season to spend local and see what that does. Like shopping small means that like you come into the bookstore, I know you. And not only that, but you come into the bookstore and I'm like, hey, you should read this book. Like of the last, like that's one of the big perks of shopping small is that we aren't there to push a membership card or a credit card, or we're not like, we don't have the goal of every transaction should have 7 items.
So you have to subscribe to us in order to buy anything from us.
Yeah. And that is becoming like a reality. I don't know. It's really hard to say what I would say to somebody in a hypothetical situation.
Right.
Because I've got a lot of things to say.
Yeah.
But I also really try to listen and pay attention to what people are telling me and, be a filter, not a sponge, and pay attention. But the number one gripe is energy cost.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's in town visiting and just asked me straight up, like, what our utility bill was. And I just handed him my bill. And he was like, what is this?
Yeah. Is it also sewer and water? And
yeah. And I'm like, this is what it costs to have energy here. You have to use CenterPoint. You have no choice.
Yeah.
You have to use CenterPoint. So you have no control over this. So we can go like stand outside and protest, until our throats run dry. But it's time to start hitting people where it hurts. And Carl's Wednesday blackout is definitely
It doesn't make a difference. It just raises awareness.
Yeah.
The bottom line doesn't change.
Yeah.
My bottom line, their bottom line.
Yeah, the CEO is still going
But
to sit at
he's
the
still-
bar and buy their $30 drink, which I've been seeing happen a little too much. But it's it is a I don't know. It's I guess that we can sum it up by saying we don't know.
I honestly don't know. I am pro Evansville. I did this thing for EREP where they did a spotlight on the business, and I was like, I am pro Evansville. People, I think my takeaway is there's so much possibility here. You can have this idea and a dream and do it, and it's not as costly to do it as in Chicago or Nashville or any of this. And by the way, I think Evansville should be a a Nashville or a St. Louis or an Indy. I think we're geographically, we should be that size. Something happened at some point, but we're primed for that. But you can make it happen. The flip side is people in Evansville say they want this, this, and this, but not everybody comes out and supports it. We have a very loyal following of people who really enjoy us. They say wonderful things about us. I don't have 120,000 people coming through my door.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have maybe, 1,000 more people coming through the door on some semi-regular basis. So it's hard. And I really am. I'm so pro this town. I just was like, come on, Evansville, get out of your way. Get out of your own way. Like, open up and let's enjoy the possibilities. So, yeah, I don't know how much more time we have for that to happen, but when I read like food review sites and they're like, I went bold and adventurous this week on our Thursday lunch and went to Buffalo Wild Wings. God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, well, to wrap it up, I just give you guys the opportunity to have any last words that you would like to say about your guys' story.
Oh boy.
I mean, obviously, shop local.
These are my last words. It's
I'll have a side of fries.
I will say Carl's poutine is pretty banging.
Yeah,
like the food at Arcademie is.
That's not your last words. Don't waste it on that.
Oh, the poutine at your brother's bookstore is terrible.
It's not good.
We pour gravy over a book.
Yeah, the cheese curds are all melted.
I just want to say I do love Evansville, and I love our customers. I love the reading community. I love that we have a great library system. I love that there are so many young readers out there that are just devouring everything that they can get their hands on. It's a good sign. And the young reading community is really big in Evansville. I'm very thankful for growing up here. It really put my roots deep into, a Southern mentality. And then moving up to this, I also lived in New York City. And after living there for a while, I began to appreciate Evansville more. I can't encourage people enough to get out and come back, and just see things. But my last words are going to be, I'm going to quote Mary Ellen here, be kind. It's time, we got to be nicer to each other. And it's time to start really looking out for each other, regardless of whether you like them or not. We're in this together. And let's work as a community to make Evansville a better place.
Yeah, that's nice.
Thanks. And I love you.
Oh, so much tension in this podcast. I'll focus it on Centerpoint. And again, for me, it's not a local political issue. The mayor can't do anything about it, Republican or Democrat. It is a state issue. To me, it's bigger than Centerpoint. So Centerpoint should absolutely take, your immediate ire. But I think you just have to look at the bigger picture, and just solely focusing on Centerpoint is not going to help us. We really need to focus on the bigger picture of changing the State House and the IURC, and calling in support of someone like Bob Dyke. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And just focusing there, and know that we're all in this together, and that will bring some small comfort. It won't necessarily help your wallet, but you're not alone. Everybody's paying the same ridiculous fees you are. They're all turning off the lights and turning down the heat or wearing 2 sweaters or doing whatever you're doing, they're all in austerity mode. And there are people out there that'll listen. I just total ridiculous side note. The day after we did our event, it got so much news coverage. I was cleaning the bar the next morning, and 2 older women called me separately to discuss their bills and ask me how to do stuff. And I was like, oh, this is where we are now.
That's interesting.
And I had a really long, I was very polite and friendly with them. And I was like, I wish I could help you. I totally understand. Yep, I get it. They were both in debt collection, by the way. But they were like, who's this company? And who's this company? But I found it really funny, but at the same time, it was, very poignant and sad. But we're all in this together, and I do hope there's enough people are focused on this that we can get out of it.
Carl, Adam, I really appreciate you being on Gaslit, The Power of Story, and hopefully these stories are going to get to the ears that people need to hear them, and hopefully this will initiate some sort of positive change in our community.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Tom.
Thanks for having us.
That was Adam Morris of Your Brother's Bookstore and Carl Arnheiter from Arcademie. A couple things are really clear. One, this is not theoretical. People in Evansville are paying $600, $700, $800 a month just to keep the lights on. Some people, it's even more than their mortgage. And some people can't turn their heat on. And some people are getting hit with shut-up notices and debt collection. And it's not just in their houses. It's in the places that make this city feel like a city. 2, this is bigger than shop local to be nice. This is about whether local can even exist at all. Because when a bookstore owner says, I haven't taken a paycheck since we opened, and a bar owner says one Saturday night pays their electric bill, that's not normal. That's collapse behavior. And 3, the people living it are telling you exactly where the problem sits. This isn't something that your mayor can fix. This is being shaped at a state level through the laws and through the regulators the governor appoints. The monopoly does what it's allowed to do. So here's where we are. Downtown business owners are literally blacking out their lights in protest, collecting copies of power bills, and planning to take them to Indianapolis just to prove what it costs to exist here. Neighbors are putting on sweaters instead of turning on the heat. People are apologizing for not coming out because their utility bill was higher than their rent. And that's the reality. But here's the other reality. No one is alone in this. That staircase full of bill totals, that room full of people who don't even agree on politics, but all said, I can't do this anymore, that's community. That's leverage. If you're listening and you recognize yourself in this, tell your story out loud. Bring it into the room. Because the only way this changes is if the people making the rules can't pretend not to know anymore. If you say it loud enough, if you tell that story and they hear it, they can't say they don't know. This is Gaslit, The Power of Story. I'm Tommy Housman. Thanks for listening.